Whiskey 7 Charlie Sierra Alpha.
Whiskey 7 Charlie Sierra Alpha, Roger.
Roger. Yeah, this is Robert in North Carolina.
Roger, Robert in North Carolina. Which radio are you running?
I got the YAESU-3000 and a HAL PR-781.
Roger. Tell me about your antenna system, sir, about 10 or 15 seconds.
Yeah, okay, here on 40 meters, I've got a 40-meter dipole up about 50 feet, and then I also have an 80-meter dipole up about the same height, and then I've got a MFJ cobweb antenna up. That's probably about the same height, too. That antenna does 20 down to 10 meters, over.
Roger. Well, your dynamic range looks to be about 3 dB, so your average percent of peak modulation is between 80 and 85%. Again, my pet peeve, a little more top-end EQ for articulation purposes. Which radio did you say you had?
YAESU-3000.
Roger. If you know where EQ is, I would go to EQ and crank in about 2 clicks more top-end EQ. Roger.
Okay, roger that. I'll give the video a listen when you get it up a couple of days, and then I'll go do something and compare. But yeah, I talked to you a few days ago, and I did put a little more top end on. High end on it. But yeah, I guess it wasn't enough.
How close are you to your mic?
I'd say maybe about 4 inches.
Yeah, that's a good distance. Some folks get it a little bit closer, and you know, the closer you get, the more bass buildup you're going to get, which is, there's no problem with that, but you do have to take care of that in EQ, because you know, if you get a lot of bass buildup, you're going to get a muddy audio. So there's no problem of working like myself. I'm running a condenser microphone. I'm right up in it, but I have a windscreen to take care of all the transients, and I have EQ'd my audio to make allowances for being right on top of the microphone, and I'm on top of the microphone to be consistent as far as audio level. The more consistent you are as the audio that you generate, the more consistent your radio is going to be as presenting it to the world, you know. So I'm right up on the microphone because I know at that point where I am, and my audio is not going to shift. Now, if I move back off, I would be off mic like that, and you could hear the difference. So I stay right like that, Roger.
Yeah, roger that. Yeah, well, see, one thing, I believe these microphones too, they have a pretty heavy bass response, and then I do know I've got a large peak around 100 hertz in my voice. I had not completely notched that out, but I knocked some of it out. If I had let that flat, you could get a muddy signal.
Yeah, no, you don't want to really notch that out. You want to, down at the bottom end, you just want to roll it out. You want just a roll on the bottom end, Roger.
Yeah, okay. That may not have been the right word, but yeah, it is rolled down. I'd have to go back and look at the graph, but I can't remember how many dB I got it down, but I did roll that bottom end down. It's not above 0. It's in the negative.
Yeah, I'm looking at your audio on a spectrum analyzer, and it looks like you're rolling from about 200 on out from there, Roger.
Roger. Yeah, if I brought that up, it'd be pretty muddy because I ran across that when I first got this radio.
Yeah, no, you're fine, and the top end looks good. I'm just saying that the thing is that the top end EQ, your both the compressor and your limiter will very easily take care of that any overshoots in the top end EQ, and the limiter particularly is so fast that you can't even hear it happening. So don't be afraid to add a little more top end there, because that limiter will take care of that. And the thing is, you know, I pointed out before that all of our transmissions in HF move by skywave, and skywave requires a bounce reflection to come back to Earth, and that reflection is not necessarily a solo reflection. Sometimes there's overshoot, and your signal continues and is reflected at a slightly further distant angle back, and those reflections from a higher distance will come back slightly out of phase to the original signal. And what happens is you have a thing called phase cancellation, and this phase cancellation starts from the top end of your audio and works its way down. So the first casualty of phase inversion or phase differences occurs in the top end of the audio, which is your syllabic range and top end EQ. So I usually crank in a little bit more than what I think is necessary, just to offset the cancellation aspects. Roger.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, there's one question I've always wondered about the ALC meter. See, on my ALC meter, there's a blue line running across, and then there's a darker, thicker blue line running up about halfway. Now, when you say to keep that ALC about halfway or three-quarters, are you talking about the darker blue line or the entire scale?
I'm talking about the entire scale of the ALC meter reading. In other words, you have actually there a multimeter, and it reads a bunch of different things, and each thing has its own scale to run on. So you have to look, you put it in the ALC mode, and then you look and see what scale that is on the meter, and then you want to run that ALC scale, mid-scale, to 2/3 full. Roger?
Oh, okay, yeah, Roger, because I know, yeah, it's holding, pretty much when I talk, it's sitting there holding the halfway. It don't really, every now and again it'll peak up above it, but not much.
Yeah, I was just looking at your audio. You had a nice clean signal, nice loud signal coming in, and I was looking at it, and your dynamic range is somewhere around 2.5 dB, which is nice. Roger.
All right, Roger. Well, hey, thanks a lot, and yeah, I'll go check the video out, and I'll shut up and let someone else get in here. I'll talk all day if you let me. Always nice to talk to you, and you have a good one up there. And I can't remember where it is you are. I think it's in Indiana. Okay. All right, Jim. This is W7CSA to what was your call sign again? I don't even remember. Oh yeah, KC9VKV. That's right. And you have a good day.
Roger, Robert. And that last part of your audio is just outstanding. And so if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-Vlog page. And on that page, again, the air check you're looking for is entitled My Group Air Check 62819. My Group Air Check 62819. And I hadn't mentioned this before, but my audio that I'm recording along with your audio is the actual audio that I'm transmitting on my radio. It is a bridge off. I'm using one microphone that feeds my mixer, and that same audio is being branched off and bridged into the radio. So that's just passing that along as you listen. Now the audio is not the audio that is being transmitted per se, because this is just going in split and going into a mixer and split and going into the radio, and the radio has certain characteristics, but I'm just saying that the audio is generally what we're starting with. So when we talk about EQ, you might listen to the differences there. And again, I'm pointing out that this audio that I'm recording on the Qso-Vlog is not from the transmitter. It's from the same microphone, the same preamp, the same equalization curve, just being split two ways. One goes into the mixer and the other goes into the radio. So enough of that. Anyway, this is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, the Qso-Vlog network. If you've got a radio you want to check out the audio, give me a shout. KC9VKV.